Hey y'all, welcome back. Happy Sunday. Assalamu alaikum. All praise be to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Today we're going to continue on with the Jinn series that was created by the Merciful Servant YouTube channel. And we're picking up right where we left off in the last video. And the title of this one is The History of Black Magic. And this is again from the Jinn series. All right, guys, let's get into it.
First place you can see up on the map is Babylon, ancient Babylon. And you can see here a picture of some of the ancient Babylonian relics. And Babylon is of course a particular area that is mentioned in the Bible and is mentioned in the Quran. And the people of ancient Babylon were known for a particular kind of magic, and that is that they were well known for their use of stargazing and magic. So there is a relation in the magic of ancient Babylon between stargazing and astrology and magic. And they used to worship the 7 stars of Babylon, the 7 stars. They used to seek nearness to their gods through 3 things, particularly through the use of incense, the use of knots, and the use of sacrifice to other than Allah. Now we come to Egypt, and as you can see there, we have a picture of Egypt, and we have some Egyptian hieroglyphics. The Egyptians were well known for using in their magic hieroglyphics, symbolism, and magical words. They have many manuscripts and scrolls that are written in hieroglyphics depicting the carrying out of magic. There was a particular place where they were known for the magic that they did, and you all know the story of Fir'aun and the magicians and how that came about. So this is indicating the ancient magic that took place in Egypt. Now we come to Persia. These were a people in ancient times who worshipped Allah alone. Their great military commander Rustum was one of the people who first introduced stargazing and astrology to the people of ancient Persia. What about magic in Islam? Magic in Islam is represented by letters, numbers, symbols, and signs that relate to the zodiac. They added to the ancient magic of Egypt, Babylon, and Persia, they added disgracing the Quran and attacking the Quran. So I want to explain to you magic in the light of an ayah in the Quran. And that ayah in the Quran is the 102nd ayah in Surah Al-Baqarah. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, and they followed instead what the devils had recited during the reign of Sulaiman. It was not Sulaiman who disbelieved, but the devils disbelieved, teaching people magic, and that which was revealed to the 2 angels at Babylon, Harut and Marut. But the 2 angels do not teach anyone unless they say we are a trial, so do not disbelieve by practicing magic. And yet they learn from them that by which they cause separation between a man and his wife, but they do not harm anyone through it except by the permission of Allah. And they learn what harms them and does not benefit them. But the children of Israel certainly knew that whoever purchased the magic would not have any share in the hereafter, and wretched is that for which they sold themselves if they only knew. 5 points I want us to take out of this ayah. Number 1, magic is something that can be learnt. Magic is not something that you are born with. Number 2, magic is an act of disbelief. Number 3, magic causes real and significant harm. It does not just cause illusions. It doesn't just cause you to see something that's not there. Number 4, there is no harm without the permission of Allah. And number 5, there is no such thing as good magic or white magic.
Okay, I remember when I was growing up, there was a movie that came out, and I believe it was called The Craft, and it was about 4 teenage witches, 4 females, and they came together, and they all had kind of sad stories, and then they found this magic. And in that story, there seemed to be a difference between black magic and white magic. And for some reason, that movie inspired so many people. I don't know if this was a global thing, but at least in the United States, many of the younger people that I knew, teenagers at the time, they started buying books on magic and how to do rituals and that kind of thing. I really don't know a lot about it, but I just knew there were several kids in my neighborhood that I grew up in, and they were doing these rituals. And I remember one time one of them told me that during one of these, they were doing it late at night, midnight, after midnight, and they swore up and down that they felt like a presence in the room, and that one of them got shoved, or they felt like they got shoved, and they were all shaken up really bad the next day. And there was another girl who was a part of that group as well, and her and another girl, a friend of hers, said that they had put a spell on this other girl that they went to some kind of summer camp with to cause harm to her. And it was within a day or two, that girl ended up breaking her leg. But anyway, I think the point of what I was trying to make there is that there is no separation between black or white magic, or good magic, that all magic is bad. And even though I really knew nothing about it at the time when I was younger, just my instincts, my intuition, it all felt bad. It felt evil and wrong, and it was not something I ever wanted to be a part of. But I'm glad that he made that distinction that white magic, black magic, green magic, whatever you want to call it, that it's all bad, it's all haram, it's all evil. So I think that's an important thing to point out there. Okay, let's go back just a bit.
Mission of Allah. And number 5, there is no such thing as good magic or white magic. As for magic in the Sunnah, it is narrated that Aisha radiallahu anha said a spell was put on the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam until he imagined that he had done a thing when he had not done it. One day he made dua and he said, "Do you know that Allah has shown me in what lies my cure? 2 men came to me, and one of them sat at my head and the other at my feet. One of them said to the other, 'What is ailing the man?' He said, 'He has been afflicted by magic.' The other said, 'Who have bewitched him?' He said, 'Labid ibn al-A'sam.' He said, 'With what did he perform the magic?' Said, 'With a comb, the hair that is stuck to it, and the skin of the pollen of a male date palm.' He said, 'Where is it?' And he said, 'It is in the well of Darwan.' The Prophet ﷺ went out to the well, and he came back and said to Aisha, 'Its date palms are like the heads of devils.' Aisha said, 'Did you take it out?' He said, 'No, Allah has healed me, and I feared that it might bring evil upon the people.' And then the well was filled in." What is the nature of the magician? The nature of the magician is that a person cannot become a magician until they reach the highest forms of disbelief, from which there is rarely any return. The shaitan lures them with promises of riches and fame, begins by asking very little. Once the person is hooked, the shaitan does not let them out of their grip. They must perform the most evil acts in order to remain as a magician. And in reality, rather than me telling you, I'd like to show you.
Okay, yeah, these go by fast, and just like before, we'll just run these back to back. Okay, let's see what the next one is. Okay, same series, and the title of this one is Black Magic Exposed. All right, let's go.
How does magic work? Magic is an agreement between the shaitan on one side and the magician on the other. The magician agrees to do certain things for the shaitan, and then of course the shaitan agrees in return to do certain things for the magician. So let's start by looking at the cave. This one is fine. This one's not going to upset anybody, inshallah. There's nothing in here that's going to be particularly horrible. And as I said, I'm going to try and avoid the worst of them, because I did have people fainting in previous lectures. Okay, so you see this person has made a circle and they've created an altar at the front. The altar has magical symbols in it and symbolism. Each single symbol has a purpose. Each color of each candle has a purpose. You can see in there is a little shrine at the front with a triangle, and the use of the circle and the triangle is going to come later on. You'll see that very clearly. Each of those candles has a purpose and a reason, and what this person would be commanded to do would be to sit inside of the circle for a prolonged period of time in a cave. And this is just showing you the cave in which the person would be sitting. They're going to a place known for the possession of the jinn, known to be isolated. They're sitting inside of that cave, and then they are going to be sitting for such a prolonged period of time, lighting the candles and beginning to mention the name of the shaitan, call upon the shaitan and invite the shaitan to come to their presence. And they would usually be asked to relieve themselves in the same circle that they sit in, and to sit in their own filth. But that's the lightest one. I thought I'd test your.
Okay, let's go back to that for a second. About sitting in the circle in their own filth, urinating or defecating on themselves, or both. And that, we've learned that attracts jinn in itself. So not only are they doing that, but they're calling upon the name of shaitan as well as they sit there. That's wild. That's crazy that they have this actual video footage of this. And I was kind of thinking as we saw this that this type of imagery, many of us have probably seen this in films or heard stories about it. And that, that's crazy to me to actually see video footage of this. And that's where those movies, would grab inspiration to do things like this. And so this goes back, I'm assuming that perhaps in the Middle East that these, I know it's highly frowned upon in most states. I know there may not be necessarily an Islamic state anymore that's 100% pure, but in an Islamic dominant country, this would be highly frowned upon and likely punishable. So for people to have to hide these manuals or books that tell about these rituals for, we're going back, no one knows, I don't think, how many thousands of years, all the way back to Babylon. I mean, thousands and thousands of years. And somehow people are continuously like smuggling this knowledge and passing it on, from generation to generation. That's intensely sad. That's a lot of kafir, a lot of disbelief, and, a lot of people that will most likely see the hellfire. It's sad, Okay, let's go back just a bit here.
Be asked to relieve themselves in the same circle that they sit in, and to sit in their own filth. But that's the lightest one. I thought I'd test your stomach first of all. That's the lightest one. Now let's go and have a look at what magicians do with the Quran. This is a public sewer. It's full of, waste and excrement. And they're trying to fish out something from the public sewer. And we're going to keep going. And the Shaykh, he climbs down into it. And this is what they pulled out of the public sewer. As you can see, this is a copy of the Quran that has been used in a public sewer. It's covered in human filth. It's covered in sewage. And they now have to clean and purify this copy of the Quran. Just in case you thought that was a one-off, we'll show you another video. This one has 51 copies of the Mus'haf that have been disgraced by the magicians. As you can see, they are covered, these are all copies of the Quran. They are covered in knots. They are covered in filth inside of them. They're going to open one of them up. They're covered in pins like voodoo dolls. They're cutting them open, and you see the state of the Mus'haf inside.
That's interesting. One is we see the knots here, and that was mentioned in the previous actual video that I did prior to this one. I believe it was from a Hadith where the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, explained untying the 3 knots of Shaitan in relation to getting up for Fajr. And then we see the knots here as well, and then they spoke about the pins. And I believe that also knots and pins, that is part of the magic that people use in voodoo, that you might see more so in Africa, and then in the United States it is still practiced in the state of Louisiana, the state over next to me. So that's interesting how that spreads globally, and we see these same themes. And for them to desecrate the Quran by getting it dirty with human excrement and urination and all of that, that's dark. To do that to the noble Quran, that means that you must surely be in a desperate state, a state of complete disbelief, to do something so horrible and disrespectful. Okay, let's go on here.
Covered in pins like voodoo dolls. They're cutting them open, and you see the state of the Mus'haf inside. You can see the color of the water that is coming off of the copies of the Quran as they're washing them, as they're opening them. And they're washing them with rose water, and they're washing them with perfume in order to remove the excrement that was on them, and they were found in a toilet, in a public sewer. 51 copies of the Mus'haf. And you can see inside the state that these masahif have been put in, and inside there are metal nails bent over. These are part of the magic, and you can see how covered these masahif are in dirt and in uncleanliness. Right. What you can see here is a copy of the Quran, and you can see a circular, I don't know what to call it, a device, and you can see what the Quran is smeared with. The story of this is actually much, much worse. Whatever you can imagine, the story is worse. There was a maid who wanted to perform magic upon the family that she was with. She took a copy of the Quran, she placed it into this tube, and she placed it where she placed it when she was on her monthly cycle, and she covered the Quran in menstrual blood. This is what magicians do.
What did Muhammad Hobelo say to us when he was talking about something? Is brother, like that's the same emotion that I just had. That not only is that just so disrespectful and unclean, it's just morbid, to think of a woman to do something like that. That's not good.
This is what magicians do. Here we're going to see another magician. And this magician is going to show how he's been caught. And part of them being caught is they ask them to they ask them to show what it was that they were doing without letting them make shirk. They don't let them call upon the shaitan, but they just let them show the idea of what they were doing in order to expose them in front of the people. So the first thing you see is that this man is wearing red from head to toe. He's wearing red from head to toe because the Prophet ﷺ forbade a man from wearing red from head to toe. He lights his incense that is done deliberately to bring the shaitan. It's a kind of incense that's well associated with the shaitan, and he begins to perfume a whip, and he starts to whip himself. This might remind you of some people. And I'll make no further comment than that. Now what you can see there is curtains on the wall that again he has disobeyed the Prophet ﷺ by placing curtains all over the wall. And what you see here is blood stains on the curtains. Now what he would do is he would sacrifice a rooster. The rooster that's associated with the calling of the people to the Fajr prayer. They would sacrifice a rooster to other than Allah. to sacrifice a rooster to the shaitan and then allow it to flap around the room, spreading the blood all over the walls, and then you would see what this person would do. They have some more little tools that they use. They would then lie in a position of humility and a position of lowliness, and you're going to see, and they would stay in that position calling upon the shaitan, calling upon the shaitan to appear before them, calling upon the shaitan to help them, calling upon the shaitan to aid them and to support them. And what they do is they make a contract between themselves and between the shaitan. And this contract is then placed in a number of places, and I'm going to show you some examples. This here is a bird that was confiscated from the house of a magician. And you can see stitched into its wing, or onto its tail. I've got all sorts of them this one. That's stitched onto its wing. You have either a written piece of paper with the magic written on it, or you have various strings and threads that have been blown, the magic has been blown over them. I think the other one is a little clearer, so I'll put the other one on. So this is another bird that was confiscated from the house of a magician, and you can see very, very clearly there that it has stitched into its wing a contract that is written between the magician and between the shaitan. You also have an example of they're burying the magic in the graves. So they go out to a grave and they dig inside the grave. They've caught a magician, or they've been informed by a magician as to where the magic is hidden, and you're going to see that they bring out from the grave, they've been told what side of the grave to look at, and they bring out usually a plastic bag, and the bag has various magical items in it. You can see there that you have the letters and the symbols that we're going to talk about tomorrow, and you're going to learn about what those symbols and letters mean. We'll show you another one that comes out of the grave. This is right in the base of the grave, in the middle of the night. They call them out because they've heard that there's some magic buried there, and they keep on digging and digging. And eventually they take out this pouch. And they start to open the pouch, and we're going to see what's in it. That looks like somebody's vest. Inside you have an egg which is painted or coloured red, may well be blood, and has a number of needles stuck into it. You have a tissue, a man's tissue. You have a lemon. You have the head of an animal that was sacrificed to other than Allah. And it's not uncommon for them to put inside of the head of the animal some magic. And you have these writings, you have all sorts, it's covered in blood. You have a child's nappy in there, and you have a sanitary towel. And there's some Quran in there as well.
Okay, so looking at this video right now, all of them actually, but I was just thinking, it's when I see something like this, it's so like wrong and disturbing that I wouldn't even need to be told, by Allah Azza wa Jal in this instance, or the Quran per se, or a Hadith, to just know that it's wrong. Like that feeling, it just comes over me. It wouldn't matter if I was, 4 or 5 years old, or if I'm 80 years old and I had, no knowledge of Allah whatsoever. I just, like, instinctually, I would just know that that is incorrect, that it's wrong, that there's some type of darkness attached to that. And my natural instinct would be to move away from that. Does that make sense? I know that Allah Azza wa Jal gave us, that innate ability to use our intuition to, if something feels incorrect, that we should trust our instincts, But yeah, I can just tell. But like the point of that is, even if I had never learned anything about God ever, I just feel like I would, as I said, I would already know that this is wrong just by looking at it. It just feels incorrect. It feels the opposite of good, the opposite of innocence as I'm watching this. Even if I didn't know what I was looking at, I'm seeing, if you have like the severed head of a bird and a lemon and an egg that has, it looks like it's blood all over it with 7 pins through it. Like there's nothing logically to me that makes that seem good or correct. It just seems just blatantly straight up evil and wrong. Okay, and by the way, this video is extremely interesting. I wasn't really expecting this. This is wow. Okay, let's go.
A child's nappy in there, and you have a sanitary towel, and there's some Quran in there as well. And we're going to count the number of pins. You can see in there that there are 7 pins. Okay, let's try and analyze a little bit of what we've seen. Each individual item that was put in there for a reason. Magicians don't do things at random. They do very, very evil and very horrific things, but they don't do them at random. It was put in there for a reason and an aim, in order to bring the shaitan and cause a problem. And I'll tell you what happened. The story of this, the sheikh who gave me the video, he actually was involved in the case, and he told me the story. He said what happened was, there was a woman who had been divorced by her husband, and she had lost custody of her child. She went to a magician in order to bring her child back to her. She brought her own blood. She brought the child's nappy. She brought some clothing from her husband and his tissue. And she brought an animal, and the animal was slaughtered to other than Allah. And I want to make something very, very, very clear. The magician in the beginning would do these horrible acts, and they would leave Islam, and they would, they would sell their soul to the shaitan. However, there's a problem. Once the magician has done that, what's next? The magician says, calls the shaitan, says, I'm willing to make sajda to you in order for you to do something for me. And the jinn and the shaitan say, well, what's the point? You've already disgraced the Quran, you've already left Islam, you've already done the worst of the worst of the worst. There's nothing left to ask from you. So then he says, what can I do for you next to make you carry out my orders once again? And so the shaitan says, now you have to bring other people. It's not enough for you to leave Islam. Now you have to bring other people. And so that magician goes out to convince other people to use their services and to bring them, those other people, outside of Islam. And this is something that you see amongst the magicians, is that they don't simply disbelieve. They disbelieve and they become a da'iyah, a caller to get people to leave Islam. And so,
yeah, and this takes us back to Adam, peace be upon him. Whenever Allah, the angels, Adam, peace be upon him, and Shaitan were all in that same setting. And that tells us that Shaitan's, like, it's his most intense desire is to make Allah Azza wa Jal's creation, mankind, to bow to him because he was told to bow to mankind. And so now that Shaitan in this instance has already completely destroyed that man, his soul has essentially guaranteed hellfire, assuming that this gentleman does not turn back to Allah. And so he wants more people to come and to bow and prostrate to him, to Shaitan, and as many as possible, because that was his belief and his desire in the beginning, was that he was better, and that he deserves that, so we keep seeing that tied back in, it's that Shaitan's intense desire to have mankind bow to him, Okay, let me go back just a bit.
Believe, and they become a da'iyah, a caller to get people to leave Islam. And so that woman was asked to bring an animal, knowing that animal would be sacrificed to other than Allah. In the beginning, don't think that this magician sat there with horns, and sat there saying, I'm an evil magician. In the beginning, the magician enticed her, look, I can solve your problem, I'm a healer. But when it comes to the crunch, you're going to have to bring me an animal to be sacrificed. She knows and he knows that animal is going to be sacrificed to other than Allah. When he asks her to bring a sanitary towel, he asks her to bring a nappy, she knows what's going to be done with it. But he has to get her to make that step so that she would leave Islam. And when she leaves Islam, then the jinn will now do another act for him and would afflict her husband and cause him to lose the custody of his child, and for the child to go back to the mother, or afflict the husband to make him love the woman again. And of course it should be mentioned that they never bring anything good, and they never ever are successful in what they do. وَلَا يُفْلِحُ السَّاحِرُ حَيْثُ أَتَى. The magician will never be successful wherever they are. And the husband would go insane, fall in love with his wife once again, go back to his wife. Within a few months, he will have fallen out with her again. It doesn't bring anything but evil for everybody. It doesn't bring people back together.
Wow. Yeah, we're seeing some reoccurring themes here. And again, the separation of husband-wife and the long-term, even generational ramifications of that, Wow, this is a very good, very well put together, and it's a very intense, it's really capturing my attention, because this is the darker side of things that we've viewed it all on this channel, but it's not always sunshine and rainbows, and it's, you have to understand all sides to understand the complete picture, Wow. Okay, yeah, let's go ahead and let's do another one here. Okay, same series again. The title of this video is Real Magicians and Sorcerers, Black Magic Exposed. All right, let's get into this one.
First of all, in Sahih Muslim, whoever goes to a fortune teller and asks him about something and believes him, his prayer will not be accepted for 40 days. There is another wording of this hadith which says that the one that doesn't believe him, his prayer will be accepted for 40 days. And whoever believes in what he said, he has disbelieved in what was revealed to Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, not from us are those people who believe in omens or have omens read for them. So we say that the conclusion to this is that if you were to go to a fortune teller or a palm reader or a horoscope writer or a TV, sort of psychic or mystic person or whatever it may be, your prayer would not be accepted for 40 days. And if you believed in them, you would leave Islam. And the Prophet ﷺ indicated that fortune telling is a branch of magic. It is used in the same way. Now, we've already discussed in the module on the jinn, the way that the jinn climb on top of each other and they pass the news down, they pass it to the fortune teller who mixes, and they mix 100 lies with it, and the fortune teller is believed for the one truth that is heard from the heavens. And this last hadith affirms for us that the Prophet ﷺ attached the same ruling to the one who goes to the magician and the one who performs the magic. And the same ruling is to the one who goes to the fortune teller and the one who commits fortune telling. Those people who read omens for people. As in, they tell you, oh, if this cat came here, if you did this under a ladder, if this thing happened, then this is going to happen to you. We're going to show you some examples of fortune telling. And this is going to lead us into the issue of amulets and talismans and magical symbolism. So you see here the reading of the palm, the reading of the coffee cup, the reading of the tea leaves. Again, we see people who appear in the guise of practicing Muslims. And they come out dressed up as practicing Muslims, and they say, I can tell what's wrong with you, drink the coffee cup, let me have a look in the cup, I'll tell you whether you have a jinn or not, I'll tell you whether you have magic or not, let me look at the tea leaves, let me look at your palm, let me measure your clothing. That's very common, especially amongst the Bengali community, that you will go to a so-called scholar who will ask for you to bring some clothing that has touched you. For example, your socks, underwear, vest, for the ladies the hijab, something that has been directly in contact with you and your skin. And they will take it and they will read some words you will not understand. And then they will measure it, and if it gets longer they will tell you it's this, and if it gets shorter they will tell you the problem is this. This is kahana. This is sorcery and fortune telling. The worst thing about these people is that people go to them for information. Do I have a problem or do I not have a problem? And I can tell you this, if you don't have a problem when you go to them, wallahi you will have a problem by the time you leave. Because these are people who profit and benefit from your misery and your suffering. So when you go and you're perfectly healthy, you know, I had a nightmare and my kids woke up at night screaming and I don't know, is something wrong with me? If you didn't have something wrong with you, he'll make sure you have something wrong with you by the time you leave. He's like the mechanic who, when you go and says, is there anything wrong with my car? He breaks something on your car and then says, yes, you have something wrong with your car. Now that doesn't mean that these people always lie. Sometimes they tell the truth. We heard the hadith of one truth and 100 lies. They tell the truth. Sometimes they will tell you you have a jinn with you, and you do have a jinn with you. Sometimes they will tell you have magic, and you do have magic done on you. But likewise, if you come and you don't have a problem, these people don't let you go and say there's nothing wrong. You know, you have two extremes. You have these guys, they'll never let you leave without something being wrong. And on the other side, you have those guys who everything is a mental illness and there will never be anything wrong with you. You know, somebody comes and literally flies up and down, attaches themselves to the ceiling, spinning around and screaming, I am the shaitan, I am the shaitan, goes down, he says, yeah, you have a mental issue. This person has a mental issue. They're mentally unwell. You know, you need to just give them some tablets and they'll be fine. And then you get these guys, if you're fine and healthy by the time you go to them, they will make sure that you're not healthy by the time you leave.
That's got me thinking. I'm sure it's the same in many of your countries. Is you know, basically everything today is cured with a pill or some kind of injection or medicine, or that is the thought process of Western medicine. Is whatever is wrong with them, if they're going crazy and stuff, just give them tranquilizers, give them, you know, excessive amounts of Prozac, lock them in a room. But there's really nothing else. They're trying to study their brain waves and do all these things, but I mean, other than tranquilizing someone, I really don't know if there's been any true progress medicinally in that regard for people who appear to have mental issues. And I would wager that almost none of those people, they seek God for help, Allah Azza wa Jal for help. You know, it's just more pills, more studies, you know, so that's very interesting. Okay, let's get this going.
You need to just give them some tablets and they'll be fine. And then you get these guys, if you're fine and healthy by the time you go to them, they will make sure that you're not healthy by the time you leave. The way these guys work is of many different types, and we're going to see some examples. These are the shells. Like they have seashells or small shells and small seeds, and they throw them down onto a piece of cloth or a piece of material, and then they see where they land and they tell you something is wrong with you, or something is not wrong with you, or something is going to happen to you. Likewise, using cardamom seeds, using date stones, they have many variations. Likewise, writing on the sand. So they have a tray of sand and some sort of symbols appear in the sand. Now how do these symbols appear in the sand? I can tell you now, it's not Jibreel who is writing them. And it's the jinn, without a shadow of a doubt. And then they say, look, something is written in the sand. If it's written this way, it's this. If it's written this way, it's this. And they have many different, they have this thing with ash. They burn some stuff and they throw some, water in it and whatever, and how the ash lies, that's how they determine what is wrong with a person. And likewise, the use of these candles, and we saw these in the video with the magician. So we see these people who are out there misguiding individuals, and from these people are those people who do istikhara for you. Istikhara is something that is commonly misunderstood. Istikhara is very simple. You ask Allah, oh Allah, you know everything, I know nothing. If this is good for me, make it easy. If it's not good for me, take me away for it and give me something better and make me content with what you gave me. That's the summary of the dua of istikhara. We have had people who have been possessed because of istikhara that was done for them by Maulana in Pakistan. And Maulana Sahab in Pakistan, subhanallah, managed to send his ruh. Subhanallah, we had a brother, he said, yeah, the sheikh, he visited us from Pakistan. I said, mashallah, he came all the way from Pakistan to visit you. He said, no, he's still there. We said, what do you mean? He came, he's been in our house and he's seen our house and he's actually been around our house. He's fought the jinn in our house, he removed the jinn. I'm thinking this guy flew on a plane and did ruqya. They said, no, he sent his soul. He took his ruh out of his body and he sent his ruh from Pakistan to come and remove the jinn from our house. And this is a person who advertises himself as doing istikhara for marriage. That's what he does. I do istikhara for you and I tell you whether your marriage is going to work out or it's not going to work out. When in reality he sent a jinn to the house and this sister was possessed by that jinn because of the istikhara that the family did to find out whether her marriage would be successful or not successful. So this is a very serious issue. Now this leads us nicely into the issue of astrology and star.
Okay, so that family, at least initially, they thought that they were doing the correct thing, right? And then it turns out that they were not, because that started to not make sense to me from an Islamic standpoint. Is the sheikh, I believe, that was from Pakistan, for that sheikh's soul to be able to travel from there over to possibly the UK. That's Tim Humble, I believe that's where he's located. That part, that didn't make sense to me. So for the idea of that to happen, it would have to be shaitan, it would have to be jinn, something like that. And then that is what he explained happened. So yeah, that's I think that's why it's important that for everyone to always remember that the Quran, it overrides and supersedes all things, all customs, all traditions, all brilliant minds' ideas. You know, if you're doing something that you're not supposed to be doing like that, there is clearly an intense evil. And for something as, you know, marriage is sacred, it's extremely important. We all know that. But to be able to, you know, basically leave the fold of Islam to be able to predict your daughter's marriage, that's that is illogical. That doesn't seem correct to me at all. And I hope I'm understanding what he was saying correctly in that regard, because if that was the case, that seemed like a gigantic mistake, you know, and just evil essentially. Okay, let's okay, it looks like we're going into astrology here.
Now this leads us nicely into the issue of astrology and stargazing. And all of the magic that you see has a strong link to astrology and stargazing. Don't think that the two are separate. The two are one and the same. They benefit from each other. They are based upon each other. And we know this from the statement of Ibn Abbas radiallahu anhuma. Ibn Abbas said, a group of people, yaktubuna abajad, they write abjad, and we're going to talk about abjad, the abjad alphabet. They write in code, yanzuruna fin nujum, and then they look into the stars. I do not think that these people have anything in the hereafter. Ibn Abbas knew the reality of how magic works, because most magicians They use astrology and the zodiac as an integral part of the magic that they do. Let's have a look at this in more detail. They essentially divide people into one of 4 categories. Okay? And these 4 categories are based upon the signs of the zodiac. And this is kufr and this is kadhib. It's falsehood and batil. But this is how they work. This is mentally how the magician produces the amulet. They divide people into 4 categories according to the sign of the zodiac, but not by birth. We're going to talk about this, not by birth. They don't do it by birthday, you're Gemini because you were born in June or July or whatever. You're this because you were born. They do it by a calculation. When they get your zodiac sign, they divide you into fire, water, air and earth. Fire, water, air and earth. And based upon what they calculate, they would then tailor the magic to the element that you are considered to be closest to. So if you are calculated as being from the earth element, they will bury your magic in the ground. And if you are calculated as being from the air element, they would tie it to a bird or to a tree. If they calculate you as being a fire person, they would command you to burn or command incense to be burned and papers to be burned. And if they calculated you to be a water person, they would put your magic in the sewer, in the toilet, in the drain, in the sea, in the river, in order for it to activate.
Okay, and we saw that, I don't know if that was this video or the one right before this one, but we saw that the sewer, the incense, I think that there was the burning of it, and then tying the incense, yeah, and tying it to the bird's tail, you know, that little note and all that, and then as well as burying it in the earth into graves. So he just explained that part of it. So now that makes sense on the, you know, the magician's logic on why he is doing that. Okay.
In the drain, in the sea, in the river, in order for it to activate. Now all of this is falsehood. However, it is falsehood with a purpose. It's not random. It's done with a clear purpose. And in the extent that the magic is the most effective and the jinn are the most obedient to the magician when they fulfill these conditions of dividing people into an element and then producing magic that is tailored to the element that you are.
Man. Okay, yeah. This is wild. I've probably already said that a couple of times, but this is crazy. Let's go ahead and get the next one. I think, yeah, that was 3 videos. Yeah, so this should be the last one. I'm curious how this ties in there too. The title of this one is Jinn and Black Magic, Amulets and Taweez. I'm not sure what Taweez is, but you know, in many movies I've seen the like amulets used for magic, or they store power or something like that. So I am curious, and I've heard or seen some of you guys in the past mention in the comments that there's still people in the Middle East that use these type of amulets. So okay, let's go ahead and get educated on this one.
You go to a so-called holy man, pious man, and this pious man says, I will give you an amulet to tie around your neck, and this amulet is Surah Yasin. We would find that it is indeed Surah Yasin. It's Surah Yasin all the way around the top and all the way around the bottom. However, the problem is, or the issue here is, that this whole top part is the ayah, and this whole bottom part is the ayah. And this band along the middle is something completely different. This band along the middle is a repetition of the names of the shayateen.
Now, I'm going to prove to you that what it contains inside here is sihr, and it's nothing to protect you. It looks nice and shiny, it has Allah written on it, but it's still shirk. Okay, that's one example. Another example is like this. You might have this, okay? You might have this wrapped around your arm, around your leg, around your ankle, around your stomach, for all different types of reasons, to help you get pregnant, to protect you from some evil, and usually this is evil. Okay, so I don't know if you can see this. It's a round circle. It's a round circle here, and this round circle is like a shield, they believe. Okay, in different sects. Okay, they believe it's a shield, and it's got Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim inside. Okay, but if you notice, the ones that have been destroyed are the grids and the cut up letters. There's a ha, sin, ya, ba, and there's number and a number and number. Okay, can you see that there? Now, the understanding is these cut up letters, they coincide with a name of Iblis or his children. Okay, so this ta'weez that a person thinks that is protecting him, no, it's just open the door for a shaitan to enter him and to cause him more harm. Okay, so I advise you to go to your ta'weez now, take it out. If it has a grid like so, that grid, okay, is the science of seeking refuge of shaitan, seeking refuge against shaitan. Okay, this is not protection, this is actually sihr. And this is what you find in sihr books.
Now, here, this paper involved here Ayat al-Kursi. They put here Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, and here they put Ayat al-Kursi as it is. Here again, the word ya calling upon Jibreel alayhi salam, بحق عزرائيل, Mikael, بحق ya Mikael, and Israfil. They call upon angels. But the scary bit is the fact, after putting here Ayat al-Kursi, they put here name like Abusa, Sabrasa, Salmarsa, Sadisa. All these are names of Jinn and maybe shaitans, or a'udhu billah. Now, if we turn this ta'weez to this level, we will find out that here they made it even more dangerous. They wrote here Maliqa, Makhluqa, Aliqa, Khaliqan, Kafiyan, Shafiyan, wa a'udhu billah. We ask the camera to come close, inshallah ta'ala, and you can see here what they done. It means Maliqa, I don't know who is Maliqa. Makhluqa, he is created. Maliqa, another name, Khaliqa, he is the creator. Means they say Aliqa, he is the creator, Khaliqa. Kafiyan, Shafiyan, Allah is al-Kafi, Shafi. But here they say these two names are Kafi, Shafi. Kafi means protecting you from any evil. Shafi means heal you from any evil. Wa a'udhu billah.
This is just shirk, and when you do something that is forbidden or shirk, you actually open the door for shayateen to attack you. So this is basically what this is. This is just a doorway for devils to enter your home, to enter your family, to enter your body. Because why? You've come out the fold. You come out of the fold of the protection of Allah Azza wa Jal.
But then when the taweez were opened, we'd seen that in the taweez there was like one man standing with the left hand forward, left foot forward, Allah's name on the left leg. Also, also when people, I'm sorry, I can't speak no more.
بسم الله بسم الله.
This is what they do, and Allah Azza wa Jalla has decreed that this is how they were taught, this is how the magicians were taught, this is the knowledge that they found, whether they found it under the throne of Sulaiman, as some of the Mufassirin say, or they found it from some of the angels whom Allah sent as a test and a trial, but this is how they found it.
Whoa, that got really intense at the end there, with a woman's voice and not being able to speak. And that does make sense to me, the shirk, you know, wearing that amulet, because you're disbelieving by wearing that amulet, and it invites shaitan into your life. And especially if you're, perhaps before that you were a practicing Muslim and you got desperate, or you got talked into doing that, and so now you've opened that doorway to be corrupted. You know, perhaps you were a good person, and now the jinn, the shaitan, they're looking at you like, oh, now we have a new playground. You know, we have a new person that we can potentially make prostrate to shaitan, you know, when we're done with them. So that's wild. That's crazy, you know. And I know you guys had told me that there's other videos on there about I know you guys told me it's not called exorcism necessarily in Islam. It's Raqi, right? Where you're you know, utilizing prayer to remove the shaitan from that person. That's just, you know, I don't really know that it would be beneficial for us to dig too much deeper into those type of videos. I don't think that's something I really need to see. I believe that it exists, and I think that that's enough that, you know, those events happen. We will continue, you know, the Jinn series to have a good overview of how these things happen, how they work, just to help complete the entire picture of things, you know what I mean? But as far as those types of videos, and I know that I believe that there's some children that watch this channel as well. I don't think that would certainly not be beneficial to them, so we may avoid you know, kind of those darker things like that. But yeah, that was an incredible little 4-part mini series in the Jinn series that we watched there. You know, there was like a just like a crazy darkness attached to it, you know, but that's the thing in this world is there's dark and light, you know, and then when we see that darkness is turned to Allah Azza wa Jal, and that's where we need to be, you know, is to stay on the correct path and stay away from evil. I mean, it really is. It's that easy, you know. He did make it easy on us. It's a fact. And but these crazy things, you know, like love and wanting to be loved, and, you know, perhaps doing something evil to try to make someone fall in love with you, or to destroy another marriage so that you can be involved with one of those people in there. It's crazy how common that is in the hearts, you know, and in the minds of men and women. You know, I think it's probably more common than we might want to believe. Just, oof. And again, that's one of isn't that like one of the greatest harms to mankind that shaitan ever caused, right? Or I think it might be number one, was the separation of a man and his wife. So, and, you know, and the generational effects that, you know, potentially can happen after that. Just crazy. All right, guys. Well, thanks for sticking through this with me. I knew this was a longer video. Inshallah, I will be back soon. I've been thinking about the series for the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, and some of those longer videos. And I think there's two. They have over 100 videos each, and they're all an hour or more long. I don't, at this stage over the next few months, I want to do them. I just don't know how realistically I can fit those all in. It may be easier for me to do videos that possibly are between 20 and 40 minutes or so. No doubt, trust me, when I have time, you know, I would love to do some of the longer ones, and I hope that in the future that I have more opportunity to do that. But I'm going to still try to keep things a bit organized, and still continue to learn about the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, because I definitely want at least like the basic outline of his entire life, because just from what we've learned so far, as I'm reading the Quran and as we finish the Prophets and Messengers of Allah series, like everything, it makes way more sense when I'm reading the Quran. You know, like I still have questions, I still ponder, but just that basic format of what they're speaking about, I'm like, oh yeah, that's right, we already learned that. Yes, this, and all the pieces, you know, are fitting together. So yeah, I got to get out of here. My wife and my daughter went out to eat, and I believe they brought me back something for dinner. So I'm going to go take a look and enjoy that. And hopefully in the next few days, inshallah, I will be back. I really appreciate you guys, and I'll see you soon.